I don't usually fall for someone. I don't even care who I run from. You're on my mind, on my mind.
Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Also welcome if you are new. Today we are starting out in the boys' room. I wanted to start in their room today because I try to work in their room when they're not home, when they're at school. So I only had so many hours to get this done, but I wanted to make those cube organizers for them. That way we could start cleaning up their room. I only got so far on this day because once they got home, I then kind of left it up to them to keep cleaning, but I definitely wanted to get as much done as I could before we got home. But there is a lot going on in today's video. We're working in the boys' room, and then I'm doing some tidying up in the main living area because the very next day we were getting our counters, so I wanted to make sure stuff was cleaned up. We also had to detach all the plywood we had as our faux countertops. And if you stay till the end, I'm sharing another recipe, but I did that after the counters and some things got installed, so you may get little glimpses of the kitchen. The kitchen video, though, is coming out Friday, so keep your notifications on for that one. I am absolutely in love with it. We are still working on it. Our hood vent was supposed to come Saturday and didn't show up till today. I'm doing this voiceover on Monday, so hopefully when you are watching this, we will be putting in the hood vent. That way you guys can see the whole kitchen transformation on Friday, which I'm excited for because then I can start decorating for Christmas, which has me like so happy.
Not the kind on my mind, so listen. I'm on the run, afraid of heights, and too much for sound. But oh, you make me numb like no one else. You're too much to calm me down. Oh, you're another kind. Oh, you're another kind. Oh, you're another kind.
So these are the exact same cube organizers I actually used in Freya's room. I found the cubes and the organizers right on Amazon. They're a really good size to fit pretty much anything. This gives the kids a lot more space. I did end up, and I didn't show it in this video, but these doors on their closets are not in the greatest of shape, so they're constantly swinging open the way they're not supposed to and getting in the way. So originally I was going to keep the doors on the boys' room, but I did end up have Bobby taking them off. I think it's just going to make life a lot easier for the kids and keeping their stuff organized. This is definitely a phase 1 organization though. I highly recommend when you're doing a big organization project, and like for me this is because a lot of these things were still packed up from moving since I didn't have the equipment to be able to organize it. Do a rough organization. It doesn't need to be perfect, especially in a kid's room when realistically it might get messed up pretty quickly anyway. But I didn't want to overthink it. It was just trying to group stuff together, and stuff that I wasn't 100% on, I just throw in a bin of I don't knows. The other big thing is keeping the toys organized. Now, for Freya's room, I went through and decluttered her stuff. But when it comes to the boys, both of the boys, I've been decluttering with them since they were itty bitty like Freya. So they've gotten really good at it, and I let them do it themselves. One, they never feel like mom's making them get rid of stuff. And two, it's just a good habit to instill in your kids, because even as adults, it can be really difficult to let go and to declutter. So teaching them young turns it into a habit and will benefit them in the long run.
From the side and you come, you got your back, it's bruising everywhere you go and everyone you love.
Now, there is a couple ways to teach your kids how to declutter, and this has just worked for my family. Obviously, every family is different. First thing is, as an adult, if you need to declutter your things, do that before you ever declutter your kids' rooms, because if they see you doing something, they're not going to feel as like attacked, like, oh, you're keeping everything, but I have to get rid of my stuff. It's learning by example in that situation. The other thing is, I always do it usually around birthdays and Christmas. So my kids' birthdays are August and September, and then right around Christmas. So somewhere between August and December. Once a year, we do a really big declutter, and it's always with the idea of, let's get rid of the stuff you aren't using anymore. That way other kids can enjoy it, and then make room for new things you're going to get for either Christmas or your birthday or things like that. Try to do it whatever will keep your kids the most motivated, and you need to detach. I know personally there's a lot of things that when I declutter the kids' stuff, I keep it because I'm like, oh, this is their such and such, and I have an emotional attachment to it, when my kids don't. So that's another reason why having your kids help is a big deal, because there has been many, many times where I have held on to something and with the idea of, oh, but the memories, and my kids didn't care at all. They came back through and decluttered so much more because they didn't care. And that is totally okay. So you have to detach a little bit from your kids' stuff, because as parents, I feel like often we get more attached to their things than they do as kids. The other thing is, kids are going to handle it differently. Xander could care less. He'd get rid of all of his toys. Bjorn is a little bit harder at letting go, and that's okay. It happens in time. If you have to declutter 3 times a year because they only do little bits at a time, it's still building a habit, and it gets to be more comfortable for them the more often they do it, just like for us. I declutter my stuff on a regular basis because I may not declutter it this month, but in 6 months, I may be like, okay, I still haven't used this. Now I can let go. All right, as I'm sure you can tell by the light, it is later in the evening. We had an easy dinner night. I just ordered pizza because I knew the next day we were having the counters put in. So I just really didn't want to mess in the kitchen. I knew I was going to have to clean up and make room and everything. So I wanted to make sure to make it as decluttered as possible. Also, people ask me about that little contraption I just grabbed off the counter with the little spike. So that is an oyster shucker. Me and Bobby absolutely love raw oysters, and now with being in Florida, we live around some of the best oysters. So I bought that off of Amazon. It is a game changer, and if you love oysters, it is totally worth having. Makes life so much easier, and we just eat them raw, so it makes it where we can just pop a couple and have a good lunch or dinner. But like I said, going around, I was scrubbing off the oven. I love using the soft scrub. It works so well in your sink, on your stove. If you ever notice in like your quartz counters or something, if you have lighter quartz, you have a stain. Soft scrub works really well to get out like slime. Slime often, if it stays on the counter, can leave a spot. Soft scrub, it is your best friend. And soft scrub with a melamine sponge, aka a magic eraser, is awesome. Whenever I've had something I can't get out and I use a melamine sponge and the soft scrub, it always works for me.
I've been fighting everything you say. I've been trying to go the other way, but I can't seem to get you out of my head, out of my head.
So I got a comment the other day about why I put my chairs on my freshly washed counters. So I do rewash my counters when I put the chairs back down, but I would much rather lift my chairs up when vacuuming and mopping than going around them. I just feel like it works that much better, and it's real easy to just rewash the counters. So that's why I personally do it. It takes me no time to quickly put them on the counter, and then if I'm running the robot vacuum or vacuuming by hand, mopping, I don't have to move stuff around. I just quickly go through, and for me it makes it a ton easier. So that is why I put them on the counter. If you're ever worried about them being dirty, like I said, I just rewash the counters when I put them back down. I don't like put them down and then eat right off of the counters. But I've always done that. It's something my mom always did too. She always picked up the chairs when she was going around to make it easier. So it's just something I've kind of learned from my mom, and I'm sure my kids will do it from seeing me do it. Also, if you have tougher stains on your stove, if you do what I did here, scrub it, let it sit for like 5 minutes and go back again. That works really, really well to really let the product work.
I've been fighting everything you'll be, 'cause everything you'll be is changing me, and I can't seem to get you out of my head, out of my head. I got time for you, I got time for you, so be mine. Would you give
I was super excited. I finally got the new head for my shark so I can use it again on my hard floors. So excited to have that back. But I'm going to be mopping the floors with just a little bit of powdered Tide, and I use Pine Sol just for the scent, but the powdered Tide is what really, really gets my floors super clean. I also just ordered a kettle because I usually like putting a little bit of like boiling water into my bucket, not the whole bucket, but just in the very beginning to really dissolve the stuff. So I just bought one of those and I absolutely love it. It's just one of those electric ones off of Amazon. I think it was $20. Works amazing. And I know come the holidays when my kids always want hot chocolate, it's going to make life so much easier than having to either use the coffee pot, which I swear always takes forever, or boiling water on the stove.
wanna give it all to you. I think about all the years I made up, and I think I'm running out of time.
Now to break down all the boxes from the boys' room. I swear our recycling people probably think we're insane because every recycling day we have so many boxes just because we're still doing so much with this house that every week, boxes upon boxes. Luckily they do come weekly, so we can always be getting rid of them, but I swear they probably think we're insane. Plus, I'm a huge Amazon girl. Like, I love the convenience of being able to order stuff. So between ordering things, stuff being sent, all of the above, there is always packages around. But now I'm going to vacuum the dining room, mop it, and then move all the things that I have on the counter from the kitchen into the dining room. I knew the people for the counters were coming right away in the morning, so I wanted to make sure that that kitchen was fully set up. That way they could just come in, do what they need to do, and be good to go.
I know you're wrong 'cause you're scared of loving, but baby, right now I'm too. Don't want a day when you say you're done now, 'cause you leave me crying over you. Don't let me fall to the ground so heavily, 'cause I recall what you go through easily. Just let me know where we head in this reverie.
All right, so I am now sharing my great-grandmother's homemade noodles recipe. This is a family favorite. We have it at so many family functions, and it was my weekend to host. So we were doing our homemade noodles with fried chicken and fruit salad and popovers. This recipe, though, is really good as a meal or as a side. In my case, I was using it as a side. So the noodle dough is super simple. For every egg, it's about a cup of flour, and then salt until the yolk gets extra yellow. It's hard to say. It's probably about a teaspoon of salt, but it's really off of eye. And then I slowly work in the well into the dough until it's combined enough that I can knead it all out. This is the hardest part of the noodle recipe, is really kneading it well and then rolling it out. Otherwise, this recipe is so easy.
Like a theme in a song, clever, feeling high.
Oh, and that's what else I forgot to mention. So, flour, egg, salt, and water. Water now is another weird measurement. I was always taught it's half an egg shell per egg. So I put my eggs in, save half the shell, and that's how I measure it. You may notice, depending on your dough, that you need a little bit more water or a little less. It's always better to start with not enough than too much. You do not want super wet dough. You want it to be more of a dry dough. This is your workout of the day, though, is rolling this stuff out. You want to roll it really, really thin. You don't want these super chunky, thick noodles. I used to make them the wrong way, and my mama yelled at me when she saw them. She's like, these are way too thick, and she was right. Now that I've been really making sure that the dough is really, really thin, the noodles always turn out so much better.
See everything clearer. Trying to fly 'cause I'm light as a feather. But I get high, I get low at the same time. Feels so right, then I'm wrong, hoping I'll be fine. But I get out, I always do. I never think.
Once you have it all rolled out, you want to flour it really well. That way you can roll it up, and then we are going to just cut it into thin little slices. Like I said, you want really thin noodles. And once you have them all cut, you're going to notice that I flour them again. And then I let them sit on the counter for about an hour to dry out. It's best if you really let it dry out, but that's also why you want to flour it. You don't want these noodles to stick to each other. Also, don't worry about having too much flour, because that's what thickens up your broth and makes a super thick, amazing noodle chicken soup. You can add more broth if you want it more soupy, but we always like it more on the noodle side and nice and thick than too soupy.
I got blood on my hands right now, and I'm stumbling through the dark in the dawn. I have found new ways, but no, I can't be the one that you need. Yeah, you know what I've done in the past. Still you say you and I, we can last. I have found new ways, but no, can I be the one that you need? Then I changed my mind, mind. Maybe we got time to make this right. Can I be the one that you need? Maybe if I change the way I love it, maybe if I try to fix this heart, then I could have stayed the night, I could have called you mine. I can't be the one that you need. Maybe if I change the way I love it, maybe if I try to fix this heart, then I could have stayed the night.
All right, now onto the broth. Now, normally I save my chicken carcasses and I will just boil a carcass all day with some vegetables and make my own chicken broth. However, I thought I had one in the freezer. I did not, so this is my cheat way. I just threw some chicken thighs, boneless, skinless, into a pot with some chicken broth, let those boil, and then chopped up my chicken. This is more than okay, still turns out completely delicious. But if you have a chicken carcass from leftover rotisserie chicken or anything like that, try making your own broth. It is always so good. Plus then you can control the sodium a little bit more, which I always enjoy. But once that chicken is fully cooked, you're just going to chop it up. You want it to be bite size. That way it's kind of like chicken you would get in chicken noodle soup. I throw that into the pot, and then I throw those noodles in, and I let it simmer on low for about 2 hours. But it usually is done sooner than that. Like I said, I was having family over, so I put it on low basically until we were ready to eat. This, like I said, turns out so good. You can have this as a meal with some biscuits, or like I said, I was doing popovers, or serve it as a side. We often like to do it as a side with, as you'll see, fried chicken, some fruit salad, and things like that. Well, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, I would love if you would subscribe. Make sure your notification bells are on. Friday's video is our kitchen completed. I'm so excited to share, but I'll see you next time. Bye.